Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are LA.
After a difficult road trip, the Angels return home where they played good baseball throughout the 2015 campaign. Tonight they try to snap a 6-game losing streak as they welcome into Cleveland Indians for the first of 3. Hi, everybody, from inside the Big A. We welcome you back to Angels baseball here on Fox Sports West along with Mark Kubica. I'm Victor Rojas, and we certainly have a very good pitching matchup on the slate today. Garrett Richards on the mound for the Angels, and the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber on for Cleveland.
Yeah, Victor, this should be a lot of fun. And take a look at our AT&T U-verse rewind. You're going to see some great stuff from both right-handed pitchers. Garrett Richards has outstanding stuff. That fastball, 95 to 98, but has been able to throw his curveball to lefty. Still has a great cut fastball. His slider, which he told me this the other day, he's more and more comfortable throwing that either behind in the count or to finish off hitters with his slider. He's going to need to have that great stuff when you face a guy like Corey Kluber, the reigning Cy Young Award winner. He has a great cut fastball, throws a slider, curveball, mid-90s fastball, throws a ton of strikes and strikes out a lot of batters. He is a dominating right-handed pitcher for the Cleveland Indians and pitches late in the game. So both these guys, very good numbers. You see Garrett Richards, what he has done at home, 6-2 with an ERA, just barely over 2. Kluber's been throwing the ball very well of late himself, ERA 3.44, 18-9 last season. The strikeout totals last year and this year up high for Kluber. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch tonight.
Well, the Angels offense certainly with hands full. The Cleveland Indians had some pretty good starting pitching, and tonight no Albert Pujols in the lineup. He gets a day off as we're just about ready for baseball here at the Big A, trying to right the ship. Sit back and relax. We're going to bring you the lineups and the first pitch when we return. Indians, first meeting of the year between these two ball clubs. The Angels last year against the Tribe 5-2. They were 3-0 here against Cleveland, 2-2 in a 4-game series at Progressive Field last year. Garrett Richards has taken the mound, and we will take a look at Terry Francona's starting lineup for the Indians. Game number 105 for them as well. They find themselves in the bottom of the pack in the American League Central with a 48-56 record. Jose Ramirez leading things off. He is at second base. Francisco Lindor is the shortstop. Michael Brantley, always dangerous. He is the DH today. Carlos Santana at first base. John Gomes is doing the catching. Monty Chisenhall, normally a third baseman, getting to start out in right field today. Jerry Sands, former Dodger, former Ray, is in left field. Michael Moore in center. And it's Giovanni Urshela, the third baseman today. He will bat ninth. Taking on Garrett, making his 20th start of the season. Comes into this one with a 10-8 record and a 3.38 ERA.
In his first career start against Cleveland, he has been very good. We talked about that in the opening, how well he has thrown at home, but his batting average against at home, 175 batting average against at home against. Garrett Richards has been that good. Only starter other than Nolan Ryan to do that at this point of the season. That's a full season with a batting average of under 180 for Garrett Richards so far. 175, needs to be able to do that, especially when you're locked up against a pitcher like Corey Kluber. You know it's going to be difficult to score runs. So as a pitcher, these are the opportunities you relish to compete against the very best.
Secondly, the defense for the Angels. You've got David DeJesus in left field, Mike Trout at center, Cole Calhoun at right. The infield with Connor Gillespie and Eric Ivo on the left side. Johnny Giavotella and C.J. Cron on the right. Carlos Perez doing the catching.
Jesus in left field. So far has 3 outfield assists and just 1 error in that position. This is 46th start out in left field. One of 10 different Angels to start in that left field position this season, which is an extremely high number. Trying to find that spot where you can be consistent as far as the at-bats and the defense out in left field.
Well, I mentioned that the Angels return to a place where they have played good baseball at all season long. For the most part, they've really played much better baseball of late at home, 32-21. The only exception being to go back to the last homestand, losing the first 2 to the Rangers before picking up the series finale on that Sunday afternoon a week ago yesterday. Jose Ramirez ready to lead things off. Corner infielders in, and tonight's first pitch being delivered by the UPS store. First one high. Ramirez, a 176 hitter at the major league level this year. 47 games, 1 home run, 8 RBIs. Looks to the strike.
And both corner infielders in, and Giavotella pretty shallow at his second base position. Trying to take away that bunt. Now we'll move back now with a 1-1 count.
There's with pretty good speed, 8 stolen bases this year. It's down and in. 2 ball, 1 strike count to start off Ramirez. Garrett's coming off a loss, back-to-back losses, as a matter of fact. Last time out against Houston at Minute Maid Park, 4 runs, 7 hits, and 6 1/3. This is a little dribbler, evens a count at 2-2. To 101 pitches in that start. First career start against the Cleveland Indians tonight. Full count. It's an Indians team that is 11th in batting average, 12th in home runs. No Jason Kipnis now as well, as you see Terry Francona, the third-year skipper. Kipnis placed on the 15-day disabled list today. Right shoulder inflammation. And that is ball 4. So the speedy Ramirez on board via the pre-pass. We'll bring up Lindor.
That's one thing this Cleveland team does. They'll run a little bit. They have 53 stolen bases this season. Knowing that they've been struggling offensively, they will put people in motion.
Lindor, the switch hitting shortstop. Called up on June 14th. 257, 5 home runs and 19 RBIs. Highly talented prospect, very good glove, holding his own, just 21 years of age.
Pretty good lead. And Richards has allowed 3 stolen bases in 7 attempts. He's pretty quick to the plate. Perez has thrown out 25% of would-be base stealers. Might be going early here.
Started to go and then stop. And it's 1 ball, no strikes. The last thing you want to do, as we saw over the weekend with Greinke and Kershaw and even Latos, who pitched well yesterday, is dig yourself a hole against a very good guy on the mound, Kluber. Door bunts one back toward the mound, which was only placed to first. We call that a sacrifice as Ramirez moves to second. It'll bring up Michael Brantley. Another good season for Brantley. All-Star last year, hitting .299. 8 home runs and 56 runs batted in. He's been deadly in these situations. .344 with men in scoring position this year.
Reason why he does that so well is because he uses the entire field. He's not a guy that's going to try to pull everything. He can hit the ball very well to left center.
He takes outside. Cleveland's coming off a 4-game split with the Oakland Athletics. Won the first 2 and then lost on the first, and of course yesterday a walk-off loss to the A's.
A lot of pitches upstairs so far for Garrett Richards. Unusual for him.
There's an off-speed pitch for a strike.
Even that pitch, upper part of the strike zone. When Garrett is on a roll, everything is downstairs, whether it's his 4-seam cut fastball or 2-seam fastball, slider.
Cleveland's playing good baseball on the road. 4 games over 500. As Brantley looks at a strike. It's 1-2. The issue for the Angels primarily has been the lack of offense. Consistency through the entire lineup, which was huge for the Angels to kind of roll through July. With a 13-3 mark to start July. Kind of fizzled toward the end. The 1-2. Breaking ball just missed. A little bit up, a little bit out.
And a curveball just missed the outside part of the plate. I just wanted to know if it was away. Carlos Perez was setting more of the inner part of the plate for his curveball.
Corey Blazer calling the balls and strikes. Jeff Nelson at first, Pat Holberg at second, Chris Cuccione over at third. Ramirez at second base with 1 out. This one's pulled to the right side, and that'll sneak through for a base hit. Ramirez being waved in. He's going to come in to score, and it's 1-0 Cleveland. Brantley again comes through. It's 57th RBI.
And that pitch is out over the plate enough where he gets his arms extended and he can hook that in between the hole between first and second. Kind of backed up on him, a breaking ball towards the lower part of the bat. And it looked like, again, Johnny was kind of shifting over towards second base when the pitch was thrown. Giavotella, and that ball got through the hole.
Fourth batter of the game, Mike Butcher's coming out. Kind of odd to see Butch out here. Not as if Richards is all over the map. He did walk Ramirez to start the game. Here's Carlos Santana, first baseman. With Brantley standing at first. 3 infielders on the right side. Ibar is the lone man on the left side. Connor Gillespie shifting over toward the second base area. 1-0 count.
Did that quite a bit so far. 4 batters face for Richards, all 4 1-0 count.
Cleveland team that has hit .245 against righties this year, .257 against lefties. Brantley with 11 stolen bases, has been caught once. Kipnis, Bourne, and Brantley all tied with 11 bags in the Indians. There's a 1-0. Santana, big rip. 1 ball, 1 strike. Carlos hitting .225, has 12 home runs on the year, 46 runs batted in. 27 home runs a season ago. Drove in 85. Some had the Indians with a lot of expectations going into 2015, considering the staff that they've been able to put together. This was pulled foul, 1-2.
That's much better on his cut fastball there for Richards. Brantley went underneath the hands of Santana. A good fastball hitter.
Good lead for Brantley at first. 1-0 Cleveland here in the first inning. Two balls and 2 strikes. You think the starters feel a little extra, I hate to say the word pressure in these situations, but have to be perfect considering the way the offense has kind of sputtered along here over the last 9-10 games.
And the pitchers they face too. I mean, when you're facing the best in the game, you know you can't make many mistakes when you're on the hill. And that's been the case for a while, starting with Kazmir down in Houston. That being said, you got to pitch your game. And Richards, they got to be thinking the same thing. Kluber's got to be thinking the same thing in the dugout. He doesn't get a lot of run support to begin with, and he's got to be thinking, I got to hope to get 1 or 2 runs to work with tonight.
Santana strikes out swinging, and there's out number 2. First strikeout of the night for Garrett. So nasty breaking ball down and in.
Front shoulders in very good, and then snap that slider off in the dirt. A firm, tight slider to get a swing and miss. We've already seen Richards go back to the rosin bag. He's got a lot of sweat on his hand. He's trying to get a good grip, especially for his curveball and slider. Warm night here.
Yan Gomes, the catcher at the plate, he will look at his strike. 227 this year. 5 home runs and 18 runs batted in. Got Brantley standing at first base. Brantley with the RBI single, giving Cleveland the early lead. Both of these teams very good when scoring first.
Yeah, Cleveland this season, when they scored the first run of the game, 32-9.
Just ahead of the Angels. That was at 39-13 when they scored first. 16-36 when they don't. Gomes spent some time on the disabled list earlier this year. Sprained MCL on his right knee. Corey Kluber just looking on. Got himself a 1-0 lead here in the first. Does it get to a point as a starting pitcher where, I mean, if you'd like to see as many runs as possible, as Gomes takes outside, but from the time you finish your warm-ups to sitting down, you know, the internal clock has you kind of going back out there at a certain point. Do you start to get a little antsy?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Yeah, you would love some runs scored for you, but the pace for Garrett really is a lot slower than we're normally seeing. So Yeah, I mean, he had been ready to assume it was going to be a quick 1, 2, 3 inning as a starter to get back out there and try to put up a 0 himself.
And Gomes drives one out to deep left center field. This one is crushed. It is 3-0 Cleveland. Gomes with his 6th home run of the season. Right over the heart of the plate.
Sixth home run now, 20 RBI for Gomes. A very solid defensive catcher. Mislocation, catcher reaching out over the plate, and Gomes absolutely crushes that ball.
So 1-0 quickly becomes 3-0. As Lonnie Chisenhall, the right fielder tonight, looks at strike one. He's hitting .220 this year. 5 home runs and 20 runs batted in. It's a Cleveland team not known for the long ball. 12th in the American League in that category.
It is 84 home runs as a team on the season. Especially when you look at the last couple of teams the Angels have faced between the Astros and Dodgers. Both leading in that category in their leagues as far as home runs.
One-two count. Chisenhall goes down swinging. Perez will have to throw down the first. Certainly not the entrance the Angels wanted to make to kick off the homestand. Cleveland drops a 3 spot in the top of the first. We'll head to the bottom of the inning. DeJesus, Calhoun, and Trout coming up. Cleveland Indians with a 3-0 lead as we begin the bottom of the first. Let's check out the Angels offense tonight. David DeJesus leading things off. He's in left field. Cole Calhoun in right. Mike Trout in center. No Albert Pujols, so David Murphy will clean up and be the DH. Eric Ibar short. Connor Gillespie at third. C.J. Cron at first. Johnny Giavitello at second. And Carlos Perez batting ninth, doing the catching as they take on Corey Kluber, the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner, 6-11 this year with a 3.44 ERA.
Yeah, he has 4 outstanding pitches, but the keys against Kluber to be successful, you have to be aggressive early in the count and also middle of the field swings. 0 counts, hitters in 384 against him this season.
DeJesus hitting .249, 5 home runs and 26 runs batted in. David playing in his 5th game with the Angels. Still looking for that first hit. He's 0 for 9 so far. There's a strike. It's 0-2. Kluber's coming off a complete game. His last time out, 2nd of the season. It was against Kansas City. 1 run on 5 hits. 6 strikeouts and 1 walk. That's a called strike 3. 1 out. Indians defensively At Sands, Bourne, and Chisenhall from left to right. Urshela, Lindor, Ramirez, and Santana from third to first. Gomes behind the dish.
And Lindor, a very special young player. He started 42 of 44 games at shortstop with 6 errors, but he has turned 29 double plays, covers a ton of ground, and a very strong throwing arm. It'll be fun to watch him with the glove here tonight and this series.
Cole Calhoun hitting .279, 14 home runs, 57 runs batted in. Good series over the weekend. He was pinch hit Saturday night, a 3-hit game Friday, 2 hits yesterday with a double and a home run. He drives one out to center field, towering shot, chasing Bourne back. Still drifting back onto the warning track at the wall. He got it. Michael Bourne catches Cole Calhoun's fly ball, potential home run at the last second. 2 outs.
Well, he did a nice job of being under control with his body going back to the wall. One of the best catches we've seen here at the Big A this entire season. Timed his leap and took away a home run from Cole Calhoun. What a play by Michael Bourne. That ball just kept drifting and drifting, but no panic as he got back to the wall. Was able to time his leap perfectly and way up there to make an outstanding play in center field.
Good swing by Cole. Nothing to show for it because of Bourne's terrific play. And unfortunately for the Angels, that's just how things have gone of late. Stroud looks at a strike.
That's another great swing from Cole, though. He had some really good swings in the series at Dodger Stadium against some very good pitchers.
One ball, one strike to the reigning American League Player of the Month for July. Announced today. John hit .367 in July, 12 home runs, 24 runs batted in, 21 games. Breaking ball on the corner, 1-2. And when Kluber is on, it's pretty much a pitching clinic.
He starts his delivery from the first base side of the pitching rubber, almost a modified stretch position.
Slider away. Call it a slider, it's a cutter.
He throws a cutter in. It's in between a slider and curve, like a slur for his breaking pitch, but also he has a solid changeup.
2 outs, nobody on. Bourne with a fantastic defensive play already. And a 2-2 count on Trout. 3-0 Cleveland here in the first.
And what you'll see him do with his cut fastball, even on his slur, he'll drop his arm angle down to make it even more difficult, especially for a right-handed batter against him. Right-handed batter's only hitting 198 this season against him. Very compact delivery, under control with his delivery.
Payoff on the way to Trout. That is ripped out to right field. Chisenhall is there, and a 1-2-3 shutdown inning for Kluber. We'll head to the second inning. Cleveland with a 3-0 lead, partly because of this guy.
2 really good plays, good swings, but an unbelievable play by Bourne in center.
mentioned Mike Trout winning the American League Player of the Month for July. Andrew Heaney, the American League Rookie of the Month, won all 4 starts with a 1.98 ERA.
Mike Trout, AL Player of the Month. Look at those numbers for Trout. 24 RBIs in his 21 games in the month of July. Third time he has won that award. Andrew Heaney was outstanding that month. I had a conversation with him yesterday. You know, he battled Kershaw very, very well. I asked him how he felt. And he goes, you know what? I lost the game. And that's what you want to hear from him. He threw the ball very well, but he felt that he should beat the Dodgers and Kershaw. That's what you want from any pitcher, but especially a young pitcher. And he threw the ball well that game too.
He's a bulldog on the mound, that's for sure.
Doesn't waste time. Goes right after hitters. It's not one to come out of the games. Mike Soch was laughing. He goes, I was afraid to take the baseball away from him the other day.
1-2. And that's not something you could teach. You're born with that.
Exactly. You want to high five the catcher in the 9th inning. You're not content going 5 or 6 innings.
1-2. Outside. Jerry Sands, a left fielder. 12th game at the major league level this year. Some time with the Rays last year. He's hitting .287 at AAA. Columbus, 14 home runs, 46 RBIs. A pretty good pitch. May have missed down low. Full count. And he walked him. Second straight inning. The leadoff man reaches via the walk.
And now it's time for Tools of the Trade, brought to you by Ram Trucks, with Michael Bourne coming to plate. And this is what Michael Bourne was able to do in center field. Cole Calhoun thinking he might have had a chance to cut that lead for Cleveland with a solo shot, but Michael Bourne back to the wall, timing perfect, leaps up and makes an outstanding defensive play in center field for Michael Bourne.
One ball, no strikes. Bourne hitting .242 with 12 doubles, triple, 19 RBIs.
We just 3 first pitch strikes out of 8 batters faced so far for Richards. Not the norm for Garrett. Generally a guy that gets ahead of the count and gets it to that 0-1-0-2 quickly.
Good off-speed pitch. And it's 1-2. Bourne in the 3rd year of a 4-year deal. Only played in 106 games last year. A couple of stints on the DL. Hamstring issues. Now the 1-2. Swinging a miss. Got him. 3rd strikeout for Garrett. It's the first out here, the 2nd. Hey fans, the Angels host the Indians tomorrow at 7:05, and fans in attendance will receive an MLB Network tote bag while supplies last. Get your tickets by visiting the Angel Stadium ticket office or online.
Good sequence by Garrett on that one. Threw a slider, then followed up with a very good curveball to get a swing and miss. Using his curveball a little early in the game. A lot of left-handed batters in this lineup for Cleveland.
Urshela could not hold up. It's an 0-1 count. He's the 3rd baseman tonight. 23-year-old from Columbia. Major League debut on June the 4th. .242. 3 home runs and 10 runs batted in. There's a little Manny Machado stance to him. This one bounced foul.
Got decent power too. I'm Richards right now. I'm bouncing a slider in the dirt. See if we get a swing and miss. Urshela, especially that first pitch, has shown he will chase breaking balls out of the strike zone. See if he can finish them off quickly.
30 strikeouts and 149 at-bats. Sands over at first base, and he got him swinging. One with a fastball, and it's a running action to it, 2 outs.
And a good cut fastball to get a swing and miss. Good location of that pitch. See that movement? Starts on the outside corner, then cuts off the outside corner for a swing and miss.
Ground ball to the right side. Giavotella has it. So leadoff walk stranded at first. We'll head to the bottom of the second with Cleveland on top 3-0.
Let's take a look at behind the key for this game to be successful against Kluber and the Indians. Fight the good fight, little triumphs, knowing you're going to have to fight up there at the batter's box. Get yourself into good counts to do some damage. Some good swings against Kluber in the first. Cole hit a shot to center field. Bourne made an outstanding play, but Mike Trout also centered up a line drive.
David Murphy looks at a strike to lead things off here in the second. Murphy, the DH, a cleanup hitter tonight. Former Cleveland Indian. Facing his former mates. Eric Ibar to follow, then Connor Gillespie. Kluber with a 1-2-3 first. Foul at the plate. It's 0-2. David hitting .290 now. 5 home runs, 27 runs batted in. 31st game this year in the cleanup spot. Batted there a couple of times for Cleveland as well. Murphy got into a game 2 on the mound for Cleveland. Worked 1/3 of an inning. Gave up 2 hits, 5 runs, all unearned. But just in case you're in a pinch.
Yes.
Popped up. Urshela, the third baseman, puts it away, and there's out number 1.
And coming up later in the game, we'll check out the big news from around the majors on the Carl's Jr. Sports Update. A little Texas two-step down in Arlington. Big acquisition for the Jays on the mound today, and he dealt.
Ibar, 278 on the season, couple of home runs and 35 runs batted in. Eric yesterday 1 for 4 with a single. Just managing 8 hits against the Dodgers. That changeup or off-speed pitch, tailing away.
Ibar hitting .667 against Kluber, 2 for 3.
2 balls and a strike. Evens up the count.
It's a little cut fastball underneath the hands of Eric Ibar. You have 4 quality pitches. You can go to any one of those, no matter what they are in the count. It makes it more difficult to square up.
Pulled foul. Still 2-2. Mentioned that Kluber's coming off a complete game. One of 3 straight complete games. Last go around for this Cleveland rotation. Bauer, Kluber, and then Carlos Carrasco. And 3 straight complete games. First time the Angels have done that since '94. This one foul back. The Angels get Carrasco tomorrow against Matt Shoemaker. Then Danny Salazar on Wednesday afternoon against Hector Santiago.
Shoemaker's been throwing the ball very, very well himself. Throwing the ball very well himself at this point. A lot more confidence.
2-2 again to Ibar. He lifts this one out the left. Sands is there, puts it away, 2 outs. So 5 batters up, 5 batters down against Corey Kluber, and Connor Gillespie coming to the plate.
He's faced 5 batters so far, 4 first pitch strikes. Mentioned on that first pitch, hitter C against Kluber, 384, 33 for 86 with 2 home runs. If he's going to be consistent, get ahead with his fastball, jump on that fastball.
Mentioned the lack of run support this year. You see the record at 6-11, has not pitched poorly. He had a couple of games, 2 against the White Sox to be specific. It kind of blew up against them. Gillespie, part of that White Sox club. He shoots one out to center field. It's going to hang up for Bourne. Kluber with a 1-2-3 second. 2 complete. 3-0 Cleveland. Tickets will receive a Garrett Richards bobblehead courtesy of Pechanga Resort and Casino while supplies last. Get your tickets by visiting the Angel Stadium box office, or you can buy your tickets online. Garrett giving up 3 runs in the first inning. RBI single by Brantley, 2-run home run by Yan Gomes.
Bobbleheads everywhere today.
Lindor, the shortstop, swinging a miss on the breaking ball for strike 1. He had a sac bunt in the first. So Kluber's got to be feeling pretty good about himself. An average of 3.2 runs per game is what the Indians score him. Got their 3. Got him on the first. 0-2. Garrett settled down in the second. Leadoff walk to Sands and struck out 2. Ramirez grounded out to end the frame. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And even though Lindor did not offer at that breaking pitch there, you'd figure that you've seen a couple of swings where he's way out in front of it. Why not throw him another one?
Especially when you have a feel of this slow curveball to him.
The slider, Gillespie backs up on it. And Lindor thrown out for the first out.
Pretty tough hop to Gillespie. Played that one well.
Looks like his foot slipped on him too as he backed up.
Yeah, this is he's trying to get himself in position to make a strong throw across the diamond. Going back because that's a tough in-between hop. And the firm throw to get Lindor at first base.
Saw David Freese today. Feeling better. Feeling stronger. Hitting off a tee now. This is pulled over to the right side. Crone's got it. Richards covered. 2 outs. Brantley had the RBI single in the first inning. His 57th RBI. He's the second out here in the third. There's David.
Yeah, he's starting to feel a lot better. Throwing the baseball, hitting off the tee, getting close to some live baseball action.
Back-to-back years of having to deal with that injury. Getting hit by a pitch. Santana looks at a strike. Santana struck out on the first. Team lead in home runs with 12. Originally in the Dodger system. Traded to Cleveland in the Casey Blake deal. Down and away. I don't know. I think my expectations of Carlos Santana, especially in the early goings when he was catching, would be a really another Victor Martinez type player.
I thought he was a real good receiver. Framed the baseball well behind the plate. Cleveland needing the bat, especially when you pick up Yan Gomes, who's a very good defender himself. Going to play some first base. DH, we would consider putting him at third base there for a while.
Said the 27 home runs last year, but the average, the 220s, 230s. 10 starts last year behind the plate, and a full count now.
Pretty patient hitter, especially doesn't chase slow breaking balls or changeups a whole lot. 50 pitches thrown already for Richards, 29 of them strikes.
3-2 got him. A 1-2-3 inning for Richards. His 5th strikeout of the night. We'll head to the bottom of the third. Angels still looking for that first base runner. campaign. Just might see yourself in an upcoming Angels broadcast, and it's brought to you by T-Mobile. Bottom of the third, 3-0 Cleveland. Crone, Giavatello, and Perez here for the Angels against Corey Kluber. Angels made a roster move last night and then early today. Last night they sent, unfortunately, Drew Rosinski back down to the minor leagues not long after he gave up the home run to Andre Ethier. Today the Angels calling up Cam Bedrosian, another bullpen arm.
Especially after how many arms were used in yesterday's game.
Yeah. The old bullpen game. 7 pitchers used. The 5-3 loss. Kluber's first one down low. 253 hitter this year. 6 home runs at 19 RBIs. Albert not getting a start today, a night off. Murphy DHing, CJ at first. Shot back toward the middle, knocked down by the second baseman Ramirez. Crone legs it out. Throw goes away. Hits that net in front of the Indians dugout. Now it goes a base hit for C.J. Crone, first base runner of the night.
And Ramirez showing some good range, knocked that down. He just couldn't get the handle of the baseball. Otherwise, he's going to have a play at first base because this was hit hard. Well, Hopper showing good range, knocks it down, but trying to get the baseball, unable to do so in time to get C.J. Crone. Solid range. He's played shortstop. You can see that with the range he has at second base now.
Kluber from the stretch for the first time, facing Giavatello. Johnny takes low. Making the 8th spot in the order. That was leading off yesterday and was going 1 for 5. Also picked up a stolen base. $16 doubles, 3 triples, 3 home runs, and 37 runs batted in. Is this one off?
Away with the hanging slider there.
Those pitches don't happen too often, especially with Kluber on the mound. 34 starts last year, 18-9 and a 2.44 ERA. On his way to winning the American League Cy Young Award. Little flare out to shallow right. Chisenhall comes racing in. He's there. One down. Crone back to first.
Good read off the bat by Chisenhall for a guy that doesn't play a whole lot in the outfield. Very solid defender at third base, but playing right field tonight. It's his 4th career game and start in right field.
Third baseman by trade. Former first-round pick. 2008. Carlos getting his start once again with Garrett on the mound. Batting 9th. 222 on the year. A couple of home runs. 13 runs batted in. Takes inside. Perez, the position player not used yesterday. Talk about that after the game as we're walking out. Difficult to have a bullpen game in a National League ballpark. You know you're going to run through guys.
And if you need somebody to pinch run for potentially late in the game, you don't have anybody left.
Crone takes off, and this one flared into the seats, trying to do something against Kluber. CJ heading back, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Yeah, was it Inetta ripped that double in that 9th inning? Thought maybe you would pinch run in that situation, but you only have one guy. I guess you could use a pitcher in that case, but 7 had already been used, so he'd have to be a starter. Crone with the lead-off infield single. This one's fouled back. 1-2. Kluber with 1 strikeout, the 1 hit allowed. David DeJesus on deck. Missed in off the plate. Kluber went to high school in Texas, in Coppell, Texas. That's in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And went to Stetson University. Padres 4th round pick in 07. 2-2. Lays off the breaking ball, full count. He was part of a 3-team trade. The Padres, the Indians, and the St. Louis Cardinals is the deal that sent Jake Westbrook to the Cardinals. Ryan Ludwig down to San Diego. Kluber going to Cleveland.
Certainly has worked out well for Cleveland with that arm.
See if Crone takes off here. He does. 3-2 in the air, shallow right center field. Long run in for Chisenhall, dives, and he can't get it. It rolls away from him. Crone, good base running, had to hold up between first and second, advances to second base.
I say the same thing. That's a good read for C.J. Crone. He's going on the pitch, about 3/4 of the way there to see where that baseball would possibly find that outfield grass. Chisenhall coming in strong for that baseball, but reads it and cruises into second base. Going on the pitch, trusting it. Carlos is going to make contact. And then the dive sees that baseball on the grass and cruises into second base. But a solid job by C.J. Crone on that read, and a good effort for Chisenhall out in right field. Keeps it in front of him also. But now you have a chance. That's a good read. Reading that ball, seeing if it's going to get down on the ground, does so, and cruises into second base.
So 2 on with 1 out. Here's the top of the order, DeJesus. He hits one high, deep to right. Chisenhall moving back on it. Has a play. Backs up near the warning track. Makes the catch. Crone will head to third. 2 outs. David just getting underneath that one.
And aggressive early in the count. That's what you want to try to do against Kluber. That's a good swing from Jesus. Almost got it out.
Cole 0 for 1. Robbed at the wall in center field by Michael Bourne. Last minute leap. Got Crone at third, Perez at first. 3-0 Cleveland. They scored their 3 runs in the first. Garrett making his first career start against Cleveland. Kluber just making his second career start against the Angels. Only other start, he lasted 4 2/3, giving up 4 runs, 3 earned on 8 hits. Took the loss. Two balls, no strikes. Trout on deck.
Hitters hitting .615 on 2-0 counts against Kluber this year. 8 for 13 with 2 home runs. There's been some pretty good swings against them, but still at that point you got to find a way to score some runs though.
Two and one. At borderline, top part of the strike zone. So tantalizing.
Still at 93, you're better off letting that one go. You're still in a pretty good hitters count now, 2-1.
Two out from Kluber. Down and in. 3 balls, 1 strike.
If you're Cole, you're center right in the middle part of play for a fastball. You know you have Mike Trout on deck. More likely you're going to get a fastball here. So look for your spot to do some damage.
Sands is playing shallow and left. Bourne a little bit deeper and right. Chisenhall straight up in right field. Bourne in center, I should say. Chisenhall in right. Not a big lead for Perez at first. Here comes the 3-1. So full count. This is the play we were talking about in the first.
Cole had a very good swing. That was a fastball out over the plate. Very similar to the pitch he hit out yesterday at Dodger Stadium. Bourne, what a play he made. Back to the wall. Leaps up and makes an outstanding play. Over the wall, bringing it back.
Thought he got it too. Bat flipped it.
He's got a good bat flip.
Yeah. He really does.
It lands in the same spot every time, too.
Perez will take off with this pitch with 2 outs. 3-2, and he got him looking.
That's another high borderline pitch. It might have been out of the strike zone.
Cole doesn't like it. Umpires tell him to pick up the stuff. He's not going to. The Angels trail at 3-0. That last strike call by the home plate umpire Corey Blazer appeared to be up and out of the strike zone on Cole Calhoun.
In Corner Fox Tracks, it is out of the strike zone. Just above the upper part of the strike zone. Kluber gets the call. Cole Calhoun does not get it.
Some barking from the Angels dugout. Corey Blazer, nobody was ejected, but Corey ended up walking toward that dugout, had some words. But, obviously, Blazer certainly wasn't happy with Cole tossing the bat and the helmet. Cole just walked away. That's a tough one to swallow too as a hitter in that situation, because you're trying. You think you've worked yourself a pretty good walk, on a tough pitch, borderline, a pitch that he's been known to swing at because that's kind of in his wheelhouse. He likes that pitch up.
And especially when your hitting coaches are telling you do not chase that pitch up or above the strike zone.
This one out toward shallow right center field. Cole comes racing over, makes the catch. John Gomes retired in the first pitch of the fourth. Just and all the right fielders struck out in the first. One of 5 strikeouts for Garrett. First one down low, gets away from Carlos. Back up the middle and snagged by Richards. 2 down. He planned it that way.
In very good fielding position to make that play. That's why he made the play.
Between the legs. That's awesome. At least he didn't try to kick at it.
It's always good to use the glove. See what happens when you use the glove. You can make a play.
That is so cool. 2 outs. Here's Jerry Sands, the left fielder, drew a walk. Garrett certainly has settled down really nicely the last couple of innings. Command of the fastball early was a little erratic. Walked the leadoff man, Jose Ramirez. Gave up a 2-strike base hit to Brantley that brought in the first run. And then Gomes, 2-run home run. But since that point, he's been really good. Just 1 base runner in the walk to Sands in that second inning.
It's a good cut fastball there at 95 miles an hour. Looks like a slider almost.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Got him swinging. Down goes Sands. A 1-2-3. They make that 6 strikeouts now. For Garrett, we'll head to the bottom of the 4th. Trout, Murphy, Ibar coming up. For the Angels down 3-0. The Cleveland Indians. Chisenhall is out of the game. Tyler Holt takes over in left, and Jerry Sands moves over from left to right. But maybe Chisenhall on that dive, that flare single by Carlos Perez, ball may have gotten him. We'll check that out. We'll pass along the information once we get it as Trout leads things off.
And this is his 4th career start in right field with the dive. Baseball hitting him underneath the chin area and the neck. Never even played right field at all in the minor leagues. So a new position at the big league level. Very difficult to do so.
Trout looks at a strike. Mike hit a fly ball to right field in the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Another first for Trout. Those numbers just listed. This one's lined to right center field. Bourne was shading him that way. Makes the grab. Boy, that ball is squared up.
2 baseballs he's squared up in this game against Kluber. Good swings, but nothing to show for it. Nice play by Chisenhall in the first inning, and Bourne here in the 4th inning against Trout. That's all you can do as a hitter. Stay back and square a baseball up. There's nothing you can do when you hit the ball with a guy in center field and cover the ground like he can in Michael Bourne.
David Murphy 0 for 1 with a pop-up. Murphy was in the 2nd year of a 2-year deal. There's a club option for next year with a buyout. I read just a couple of days ago, Cleveland Indians weren't planning on picking up that option for next season. That's the Angels' decision going into that offseason. This one is a strike. 1-2. Kluber 2 strikeouts, 2 hits allowed. This one fouled back. Ground ball to the right side, past Santana into right. A single from Murphy, who will stay right there. Sands gets that baseball back in. 3rd single allowed by Kluber now.
Got the head of the bat on that breaking ball. Got it by Santana at first base. Breaking ball. You see that arm angle he's trying to create for the breaking ball. Murphy did a nice job of going down and getting the barrel of the bat on that breaking ball and by Santana for a base hit. Good effort, but underneath the glove.
Eric Ibar with a fly ball to left in the 2nd is 0 for 1. Kluber about to throw his 52nd pitch and it misses. That's 1 ball, 1 strike. The 2nd inning on is kind of what we expected today as far as pitching matchup. 2 very good pitchers going at it.
With very good breaking pitches.
Ground ball right side. Ramirez to his left, fires to Lindor, and they get Murphy, the lead runner, for out number 2.
That was not an easy play by Ramirez. What a perfect throw to Lindor at second base to get the lead runner. It's a long throw for him. The glove side turns around and a perfect throw to Lindor to get the out at second. Quick spin around and a perfect throw. He's played shortstop, so he has that athletic ability to be able to make that type of throw.
So Ibar replaces Murphy at first, and here's Gillespie, who lined out to Bourne in the second. Lifted out to shallow left. Holt comes in. Halos are down here in the 4th. We head to the 5th. 8-9-1 coming up to face Garrett Richards with the Angels trailing at 3-0. Highway miles per gallon. This car was made for driving in California. Visit Dodge.com. By AT&T Uverse, more live channels on the go than cable. And by the Acura It's That Kind of Summer event. Top of the 5th here at the Big A. 3-0 Cleveland. All 3 runs in the first inning against Garrett Richards, and he has settled down. Now it's time for the offense to try to figure out Corey Kluber.
Never easy to do.
I know.
That's what he's done in his last 7 starts. 1.73 ERA coming in this game for Kluber.
It's a daunting task. I mean, you look at this ball club over the last 6 games, the exception being the first 3 innings of Tuesday night's game in Houston, 4 innings. From that point forward, all of a sudden you're running some pretty good pitchers. Then you run into some really good pitchers over the weekend. And then you look ahead to this series and you're like, somehow, some way, you've got to try to figure it out.
Yeah, you just got to mix and match, especially in the lineup. It may force Mike Scioscia to go back to the way he's managed in the past, in which he has guys on the move. Because a lot of times as a hitter, instead of trying to think long ball, you're just thinking contact with defenders out of their comfortable positions. Better chance to go first and third against them.
Texas, by the way, leading Houston 12-9 in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Baseball carrying there, you think?
It was, what was it? 7 at one point. It was like the 4th inning. A lot of early runs in that ball. Colby Lewis and Lance McCullers.
Adrian Beltre hit for the cycle.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Don't look now. You look behind the Angels. Texas 4 back of the Halos.
And if the lead holds, it'll only be 1 game under 500 now for the Rangers.
Full count on board. 8-9-1 for Cleveland here in the 5th. Bourne struck out swinging in the 2nd.
Certainly the guy you want to keep off the bases if you're Garrett Richards and the Angels.
Breaking ball got him. Down goes Bourne. There's the first out here in the 5th.
Good backdoor breaking ball. Inside part of the plate. Good location for Richards.
Let's go back to that scoreboard too, by the way. Toronto defeating Minnesota 5-1. Toronto at the start of the day, a game back, tied with Baltimore in the wild card. Right now it's the Angels and the Twins atop that leaderboard. Well, at the start of the day, Toronto beating Minnesota 5-1. That's the other thing you got to start looking at as well.
Yeah, that wild card race is getting very, very interesting in the American League.
Cleveland hitting for 3, then Baltimore themselves coming into town on Friday night for 3. There's a look at it right now.
Angels leading the wild card race. Still had to play more consistent baseball.
Lifted out to shallow right. Giavotella going out. Calhoun calls him off. Urshela retired for the 2nd out. Spin the lineup back to the top. It'll bring up Jose Ramirez. 11 straight retired by Garrett since the leadoff walk to Jerry Sands in the 2nd. Just off the plate. Garrett still looking at. He's not happy with some of the borderline pitches not going his way, but according to our Fox track that we have in our booth, we show periodically pitch has been off the plate. What do you want?
97-mile-an-hour fastball with some movement there from Richards.
Ramirez walked and scored in the 1st and grounded out in the 2nd.
Best fastball so far, 97. Curveball, slowest one at 78. Pretty good differential for Richards in this game at this point.
7 punch outs so far. Ground ball to Giavotella. So make that 12 straight retired by Richards. We'll head to the bottom of the 5th. It's Cron, Giavotella, and Perez coming up. 3-0 Cleveland. To retransmit it in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Angels Baseball LP. C.J. Cron to lead things off here in the 5th against Corey Kluber. Has 2 strikeouts, no walks, and 3 hits allowed. All 3 singles. Cron has 1 of them. Infield variety. We'll look at a strike. 3 for his last 28, the last 10 games. That is ripped to left, the base hit, second hit. Holt trying to cut it off, and that'll go to the wall. CJ on his way to second with his second knock of the ball game, his 10th double of the season.
Like a slider up in the strike zone. The one thing about Kluber we've seen against right-handed batters so far, he doesn't throw a lot of pitches on the inner half, so you're looking out over the plate to try to hook a bad breaking ball, and that's what Kluber threw there, and C.J. Cron made him pay for it. Picking up a double, his 10th double of the season. And when you have a pitcher, even though his stuff is very, very good, a lot of pitches away, pitches in more effective against left-handed batters, but a lot of pitches away.
From a batting average standpoint, he's been tough on righties this year, just under 200 batting average.
Because he has that cutter, that slider going away. 4-seam fastball away.
Givatella fouls this one back over the screen, and it's an 0-1 count. Angel second baseman, a fly ball to right in the 3rd, so he's 0 for 1. Came in batting .263 on the year. Halos have out hit the Indians 4-2, but 2 of those hits bringing in runs. Single by Brantley, the home run by Gomes. Fly ball to shallow right. 1 out. Hey fans, join us for Italian Heritage Night. That is coming up on Saturday when the Angels take on the Orioles. And that's a 6:05 start. And I would imagine there's a fireworks spectacular after the ball game. Get your Italian ticket package online and receive an Italian Angels hat and great seats to the game.
It's a good night.
Yeah, just log on at angels.com/Italy.
The fireworks and the hat.
Italian Angels hat. My wife's side of the family would be happy.
Yes. Mine too. Already have a request from my mother-in-law for the hat.
Request or more of a demand? Because I know how that works.
A demand. I was trying to be nice.
Carlos with a base hit in the 3rd. Reaching for that breaking ball. No balls, 2 strikes.
One thing Kluber likes to do when he's ahead of the count like this, he'll either throw that slider again or he'll go upstairs with his 4-seam fastball.
Fastball away.
Yeah, he wanted that fastball upstairs. Mislocation.
Now you talk about mechanics quite a bit. This is almost textbook how free and easy he delivers a pitch, regardless of the pitch selection.
Yeah, great balance over the pitching rubber. Not a lot of wasted energy. Compact in his delivery.
Tough guy to read, it seems like. Hides the ball well.
Every pitch from the same arm angle. Sometimes you'll see pitchers when they're throwing a certain pitch, they'll drop their elbow down a little bit. Everything's exactly the same spot. At that point, as a hitter, you're just trying to read the rotation of the seams to have a better chance of squaring up the baseball.
Do you call him a short armor?
Yeah, kind of a little bit like Kenny Hill was, but not quite that short as far as the arm delivery. But that even makes it more deceptive for a hitter to try to read the pitch.
1-2. Got him looking on the outside corner. Got the black 2 outs, third strikeout. And all 3 strikeouts have been looking.
Pretty good sharp slider right there on the outside part of the plate. Perfect location. I mentioned somebody like yesterday, Matt Latos, a longer delivery straight over the top. You have a better chance of reading the spin of the baseball against him, even though he threw the ball well yesterday, as compared to Kluber here tonight.
Latos yesterday working 6 innings in his Dodger debut, allowing a run on 4 hits. Leadoff double by C.J. Cron, still standing at second base. David DeJesus comes up. Cuts through the first one. 0 for 2 tonight with a strikeout looking in the first, a fly ball to right in the third. We're batting .249 as the Angels acquired him from the Rays. Those moves happening last Monday. The Angels had the off day before the series against Houston. He's been in these situations before when he's moved around this season. This was low. 2013 played for 3 teams in 4 days. Traded from the Cubs to the Washington Nationals, and then from the Nats to the Tampa Bay Rays.
He's extremely excited to be here, putting on the Angels uniform, and he's pressing a little bit, trying to do too much. Just kind of relax your hands as a hitter and just try to use the middle part of the field. Don't think in terms of trying to pull the baseball.
1 ball, 2 strikes. It's been a week since Matt Joyce was placed on the 7-day concussion list, being evaluated. I've heard much more than that. The Angels obviously will have to make some sort of decision if and when Matt is ready to go. A long, tough season for Matt Joyce. I read the collision a week ago Sunday here in that game against the Texas Rangers, and shallow left Eric Ibar. Knee of Ibar getting the chest and the chin area of Joyce. Saw Matt down the
birthday today.
His birthday is today. 1-2. That hit him. Tried to get out of the way of it. David is on board with a hit by pitch. Cole will get an opportunity here with 2 men on, representing the tying run.
Runs that fastball. That's the one time we've seen in this game where he's dropped his elbow enough where David DeJesus gets hit with that pitch. Didn't really make that much of an effort to get out of the way of that one. Getting on base, giving Cole the opportunity with 1 swing of the bat to tie the game up.
Calhoun robbed by Bourne in the first, and then struck out looking on a questionable call. And Corey Blazer, the home plate umpire, on a 3-2 pitch. That call goes the Angels' way, and then who knows how that inning turns out, because Trout would have batted with the bases loaded. Instead, it was a 3rd out.
7th batter that Kluber has hit this year.
He pulls this one down the right field line, foul. Just hooked it out in front. 0-1.
And not that much different than the pitch that was called out. It was a little bit lower in the strike zone, but still elevated.
Texas Rangers ended up defeating the Houston Astros 12-9. The opening game of that series. It's a 3-game set in Arlington. And Houston will travel to Oakland for a 4-game series, I believe, beginning on Thursday. Pretty sure it's a 4-game set.
Still amazing that the Astros end the season against the Diamondbacks.
Well, there's got to be an interleague series pretty much every day. Remember the Tigers one year finished in Miami.
There were no hit.
No balls, 2 strikes. Is that Henderson Alvarez?
Yes.
He's done for the year.
Yeah, he's done for the year.
That was a wild pitch, right?
Yes.
The bottom of the 9th that won it for the Marlins with Henderson Alvarez on deck.
On deck, yes.
That's cool. That's a pretty interesting way to throw a no-no. To finish off the no-no, I should say. Cron at second, and Jesus at first. 0-2 to Calhoun. This is grounded toward the middle. Ramirez can't get it. It's a base hit. Cron is being waved into. Jesus goes to third. The Angels get on the board. It's 3-1 Cleveland.
A nice hit back there for Cole, especially behind in the count 0-2. Good base running by Jesus, too, to get into third base on that single from Cole, picking up his 58th RBI. Spins that breaking ball, didn't get exactly where he wanted to throw that one. And Cole, good balance through the baseball. Tries to hit that ball using the middle of the field. Against Kluber, you have to use the middle of the field to be successful. Scoring, C.J. Cron.
Trout has hit 2 rockets today, nothing to show for it. 0 for 2. Takes a strike. Mike Hitless in back-to-back games for the first time since May 12th and 13th. There's a ground ball back up the middle. That'll sneak through past Lindor. DeJesus scores. Calhoun to third. It's a 1-run deficit for the Angels. Mike snaps an 0 for 11.
Not crushing the baseball, but using the middle of the field right back up the middle. RBI single. It's a nice job by Trout once again. They're trying to go upstairs with a fastball, about belt high, but is out over the middle of the plate. Goes right back, and not easy to do to get by Lindor. You see that range he has just by his glove for an RBI single.
Boy, off the bat, seemed destined for center field, but then you see Lindor and his strides to his left. You're thinking, uh-oh.
I've seen some plays he's made already this year. He's a special defender at shortstop. He almost got to that baseball.
And if he does, the run still scores, but Calhoun stays at second.
Yeah, that's important to get to third because Kluber has 6 wild pitches this year. Occasionally will overthrow his slider.
Santana holds Trout at first base, so it opens up the right side a little bit with Murphy at the plate. David snuck a base hit to right that way in his last at bat in the 4th. He's 1 for 2. 3-2 Cleveland. We're in the 5th. Looked like it was off the plate. It's called a strike. Six hits now for the Angels. Chipping away here in the 5th inning with 2 outs. Started. Cron a leadoff double. 2 outs were recorded, and a hit by pitch of David DeJesus. Off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Trout with his 68th RBI. Calhoun with his 58th. The start of the day was Josh Donaldson leading the way in that category with 75.
And we've seen over the years against David Murphy, you try to stay 2-seamer away, soft away. Anything on the inner half of the plate, he's always able to drop the head of the bat and hit that ball hard. He did so his last at bat for a base hit on a down and in pitch.
Trout takes off. The pitch is lined out toward left field. Holt coming in, makes the catch. And the inning is over, but the Angels get on the board. 2 runs across. We'll head to the 6th. The Angels down 1.
Rowdy. Cleveland on the board early. Don Gomes, 2-run home run as part of a 3-run first inning for the Cleveland Indians. And Cole Calhoun thinking he has one of those runs back. Michael Bourne makes an outstanding play in center field. Eagles still down 3-0, but Cole Calhoun with a base hit scoring C.J. Cron, who led off the inning with a double. Then Mike Trout scores. David Jesus, who had been hit by a pitch. Close game here now, 3-2 in the top of the sixth. This is what we thought coming into this game, going to be a close, tight game.
Lindor, Bradley, and Santana, 2, 3, and 4 for Cleveland here in the sixth, facing Garrett Richards, who's retired 12 straight. 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 hits allowed. Both of those hits in the first. 0-2 count. Lindor sack bunt in the first inning and a ground out to Gillespie at third base. And that was in the third inning.
Richards started out the game 4 batters faced, not 1 first pitch strike, but since that point 16 batters faced, 13 first pitch strikes.
Overthrown breaking ball. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. 3 runs, 2 hits, 1 left on for Cleveland. 2 runs, 6 hits, 5 left on for the Angels. 75 pitches for Garrett. Went into the Angels dugout.
Went in quickly into the dugout.
Ground ball toward the middle. Giavotella to his right. Stumbles. Low throw. Dug out by Cron. Got him. Johnny tripped himself. 1 out.
Terry Francona may look to see if he feels it's worth a challenge at first base. Trips on his own feet with a quick throw. Scoop. Definitely out of first base. Good scoop by C.J. Cron at first. That short hop.
Brantley 1 for 2 with the RBI single in the first. 57th run batted in. Takes up and away. Brantley grounding out to Cron in the third inning. It's on the former big leaguer Mickey Brantley. He's turned himself into a terrific ball player. Originally with the Milwaukee Brewers. He was part of that the big trade that sent CC Sabathia from Cleveland to Milwaukee.
CC was certainly a warrior for Milwaukee, pitching a number of games on 3-day rest.
Giavotella. Deja vu all over again. 2 outs. Hey, follow the Angels all season long with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet today. Santana comes to the plate. I was just thinking about that trade. Cleveland had another big trade. Pitcher Bartolo Colon. That was the Montreal Expos deal. I think Grady Sizemore was in that deal. Cliff Lee in that one. This one's out to right center.
No, Cliff Lee went over to, was it the Philly deal from Cleveland?
I think he may have been a part of that Bartolo Colon trade.
After striking out twice, Santana with a base hit against Richards. He'll be pitching out of the stretch for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it was Bartolo Colon and Tim Drew to the Expos for Cliff Lee, Grady Sizemore, Brandon Phillips, and Lee Stevens. Bartolo, I think at the time he ended up being a 20-game winner. Wasn't an All-Star there. Won 10 for Cleveland, 10 for les Expos de Montreal.
And he's still pitching.
Yes, he is.
That's a fun pitching staff to be part of, the New York Mets. They have some serious arms.
There's no letdown, that's for sure. Saying goodbye Santana, snapping a streak of 14 in a row. Retired by Garrett. It's Gomes in the hole here, 0-2. Just reading on that trade, Brandon Phillips then just flipped over to the Reds for Jeff Stevens. Rest of the deal looked good, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three-2 Cleveland in the sixth. 0-2. Down low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The home run that Gomes hit in the first inning is 6th of the year. Now with 20 runs batted in. 21 home runs last season, 74 RBIs. Born in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Raised in South Florida.
Slider backed up on Richards, trying to go down and away.
Paulo Orlando doing his magic with the Kansas City Royals this year.
Boy, he can fly. Oh, wow.
Yes, he can. Santana with a short lead at first. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Kansas City had another fun game against Toronto. They've been involved in quite a few bench clearing brawls this year.
Yeah. Royals are off today.
Good job as far as the pitch count right now for Richards. After 26 of them in the first inning.
Got the first 2 outs on ground outs to Giovantel and Santana with a base hit. The Angels at the bottom of the 6th inning have Ivar, Gillespie, and Crone coming up. They're trying to keep it a 1-run deficit. Two got him swinging. Down goes Gomes. 8th strikeout of the night for Richards. 3-2 Cleveland as we head to the bottom of the 6th.
Texas two-step as the Rangers beat the Astros 12-9. Adrian Beltre hit for the cycle, and the Price is right in Toronto. David Price coming over that big deal, dealt against the Minnesota Twins, went 8 innings, 11 punch-outs. Last 5 starts against Minnesota, 5-0 with an ERA under 1 for David Price. What a performance in his first start as a Blue Jay.
Eric Aybar to lead things off against Corey Kluber. Breaking ball is in for a strike. Eric 0 for 2, fly ball to left, and he reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th. That is ripped to right field. It's a leadoff single. Third time tonight that the Angels have had their leadoff man on board. Second consecutive inning.
Go back to Hyundai Keefe in this game. Fight the good fight so far. The batters last couple of innings have had some good approaches using the middle part of the field. And Eric Aybar getting it started here once again with a line drive single of Corey Kluber.
Connor Gillespie's 0 for 2. Twice has hit a fly ball. One to center, one to left.
And that's by design to see if Gillespie would square around to bunt. Gillespie no sacrifice bunts this year.
Took something off, trying to stay away from Gillespie. Halos with that 2-out rally in the 5th inning, scoring 2 runs. DeJesus a hit by pitch, and then Calhoun and Trout with back-to-back singles, scoring Crone and DeJesus. And Murphy lining out to left field. Good lead for Aybar at first. He takes off. The pitch is cut on it, bounced foul. Boy, Eric had a terrific jump from first base.
And Kluber's allowed 15 stolen bases in 21 attempts. That looked like a straight steal. Not looking back to see if there's any contact made.
It's one of those that in those situations you're probably hoping as a batter, as good a pitch as it may be, try to take if possible.
Especially with that type of jump.
Not the easiest thing to do, though. Again, Eric with a good lead at first. Doesn't go. Off the plate, 2-1.
Another good count to have some action going.
Leadoff single for Eric Aybar. He represents a tying run over at first. Breaking ball hit out to right, hit well. Looking at it is Jerry Sands. This one is gone. A big fly for Connor Gillespie. First as an Angel. Gives the Halos a 4-3 lead.
Boy, Gillespie got a pitch upstairs, and he did not miss that one. Just his 4th home run of the season, but a huge one. His first one wearing that Angel uniform against a very good pitcher. It's the 12th home run that Kluber has allowed this year. It's the 5th against a left-handed batter, but that pitch is up in the zone. Stayed back on that one. Well, you talk about getting the barrel of the bat on the baseball. No doubt for Gillespie.
Here's C.J. Cron, who's 2 for 2.
Gillespie now 9 for 25 against Kluber. He's had some good success against him. And he did not miss that mistake.
Cron chasing a pitch, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Single and a double for Cron. 3-1. Double for CJ, led off the 5th inning, his 10th of the year. Kluber at 86 pitches. Terry Francona getting action in the bullpen. Crockett at Manship. Great name for an 80s band. This one's fouled off, full count.
Which one?
No, just like that. Crockett and Manship. It's like something out of Miami Vice, you know.
It's a good gear they wore, though.
Yeah. 3-2. Cron gets struck out. Fastball that got the bottom part of that strike zone. And that's the 4th strikeout for Kluber. All 4 looking tonight.
Lower part of the strike zone fastball located that perfectly. With a pitch like that, as a hitter, you're at the mercy of the umpire. And that was a strike.
Johnny Giavotella twice has hit a fly ball to right field. That one's up and in. Line to center. Bourne coming on. He'll play it on a hop.
Bourne plays a pretty deep center field. And a lot of these swings, talked about what you have to do against Kluber, using the middle of the field. A lot of those swings have been that type of swing against him. The exception of Gillespie and even the ball that Cron hit down the left field line, but they were both breaking pitches.
5th time this year that Kluber's allowed 9 or more hits. Season high is 13. That was against the White Sox back in April. It's the first time he's allowed this many hits since June 3rd at Kansas City. Cardinals 1 for 2 with a single. Giavotella takes off. Broken bat roller toward 3rd. Urshela has it. Giavotella keeps running. The throw back from Santana. It is not in time.
It's good base running. Even though the old adage is you don't want to make that 3rd out of 3rd, but when you have so much movement as far as the infielders trying to cover the base, you might even get a bad throw towards the base. Hit and run on. Like so, should put that action play on. And Giavotella sensing that nobody's going to be at 3rd base. Lindor trying to get there. And a good slide. Holds on to the base. It's important because when a man on 3rd, sometimes you take away that nasty slider from a pitcher. As compared to if he's at 2nd base.
Kind of what you said early on, things you need to do against Corey Kluber. DeJesus looks at a strike. He struck out on the 1st, a fly ball to right in the 3rd, hit by a pitch, scored a run the 5th. Oh, 2. Breaking ball to the right side. Knocked down by Ramirez. Kluber's covering. Bad throw. The run will score. 5-3 Angels. DeJesus gets credited with a single and an RBI. That's his first hit as an Angel.
Well, first hit as an Angel for DeJesus. First home run as an Angel for Gillespie. Some good signs, some good swings against Kluber. Looks like Terry Francona may be going to the bullpen now. Nice job. Again, when you're behind in the count, you're just trying to make contact. Ramirez gets there, might have a play on it, but a wide throw. Kluber was there. That's what you're supposed to do as a pitcher, cover the base.
Kluber allows 10 hits tonight and 5 runs. All of those runs scored in the last 2 innings. A pitching change. Angels lead at 5-3. The Angels on top 5-3 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Still batting with Cole Calhoun coming to the plate. 2 outs as the Angels chase Corey Kluber, his shortest outing since he went 5 innings on June 14th against the Tigers. He's responsible for DeJesus at first base. Kyle Crockett takes over on the mound. It's our in and out, who's in, who's out. Crockett, the 23-year-old from Virginia. 4th round pick in 2013. Has pitched in 9 games, no record. And a 3 ERA, pitched in 43 games last year. It was really good. 4-1 record and a 1.80 earned run average. Cole takes a big rip at that first pitch, and it's an 0-1 count.
Yeah, fastballs 87 to 91 range, slider, changeup. Those are a lot of fastballs. Does have a pretty solid slider.
Product of the University of Virginia. Cole tonight 1 for 3, an RBI single in the 5th. 58th RBI. Eric Ibar leading off this inning with a base hit. Connor Gillespie putting the Angels in the lead with his first home run as a Halo. 2-run shot. Johnny Giavitello taking 3rd on the ground out by Perez, scoring on the single. DeJesus. This one's a little bleeder out to right. That'll fall down. Second hit of the night. DeJesus advances to second.
The crowd coming out, Francona. Yep, looks like he's going to go right back down to the bullpen.
So the Angels win the situational matchup. Crockett is done after 1 batter. And looks like Manship, the other half's coming on. 5-3 Halos. For that, we will take a look at the Honda upcoming schedule. 2 more against Cleveland, 7:05 tomorrow night. It's a 12:35 afternoon game on Wednesday, then an off day before the Orioles roll into town for the first of 3 beginning on Friday. Then it's back out on the road for a week. Jeff Manship takes over on the mound. 30-year-old, the veteran's been around a little while, originally in the Minnesota Twins organization. In his first season with Cleveland, he's pitching down at AAA. Pretty good numbers at AAA Columbus. Pitching his 13th game at the big league level this year. No record at a 1.15 ERA.
Yeah, Manship fastball 90 to 94. Slider, curveball, changeup. 34% of his pitches this season have been sliders. Trout might see quite a few of them.
Signing with the Indians prior to this year. Spent last year in the Phillies organization. Prior to that with the Rockies. Trout 1 for 3, an RBI single in the 5th inning. DeJesus at second, Calhoun at first. The first one misses just low. May have caught the zone, but Trout gets the call. DeJesus belongs to Kluber. Calhoun to Crockett. Fastball first strike, 93. Evens up the count. Angels trying to snap a 6-game losing streak. The Astros lost earlier tonight in Arlington to Texas, 12-9. One rolled foul. It's 1-2.
Pitch down, but a little bit off the inside corner. Trout can crush pitches in the lower part of the strike zone.
Two balls and 2 strikes. 11 hits for the Angels tonight. Most hits since a week ago Sunday here against Texas. Check swing. They wanted to appeal. Did not go, says Jeff Nelson. Really close.
That was real close. You have to be real strong not to cross the plate. Sharp slider. The stride. Oh, extremely close.
I don't know, Gooby.
I'm barking on the mound right now, thinking he went.
Yeah. So full count with 2 outs. Runners will take off here on the next pitch.
I would think he's going to go 3-2 slider, especially when you see a hitter like Trout thinking about chasing that pitch out of the zone.
Runners go, and he fouls it back, challenging with a fastball.
He probably should have went slider. He was right on that fastball, fouled it straight back. That is one of the most uncomfortable feelings when you're on the mound. When you throw a pitch, you think you threw it well, but a hitter fouls it straight back. I'm telling you, he's right on it.
Halos with 2 runs in the 5th, 3 so far here in the 6th. Looking to add on. Knock Corey Kluber out of the game. Another payoff. That's nowhere near the zone, and they are loaded up for David Murphy.
So far, the matchups for Terry Francona have not worked. Lefty versus lefty. Base hit, righty versus righty. Walk. Now he's got to face a left-handed batter. Manship in David Murphy.
Murphy, the 9th man to bat here in the 6th inning.
Real good numbers with the bases loaded. .363 batting average.
Pulls this one to the right side. Santana's there. Manship covering, and the inning comes to an end. The Angels strike for 3 runs. It started with Gillespie's 2-run blast. His first as an Angel, I should say, giving the Angels a 4-3 lead. And then David DeJesus adding to it with an RBI single.
His first hit as an Angel, too. Big one.
Your strongest fan photo to hashtag WestDataStrongFan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast, and it's brought to you by T-Mobile. We start the 7th. Garrett Richards back out on the mound. Connor Gillespie with that 2-run home run. His 4th of the year, giving the Angels a 4-3 lead. David DeJesus picking up his 27th RBI. Richards to face Tyler Holt, Jerry Sands, and Michael Bourne for Cleveland here in the 7th. 8 strikeouts, 2 walks, 87 pitches so far. And from the 2nd inning forward, just 2 base runners. A walk to Sands leading off the 2nd, and a 2-out single to Santana in the 6th.
This is an inning where you really need that 0 put up from Richards.
One ball, 1 strike. Tyler Holt, his first plate appearance. Holt 1 for 11 this year. He took over for Lonnie Chisenhall in the 4th inning. Chisenhall dove for a ball. Ball seemed to come up and hit him underneath the chin, but a cervical strain, kind of whiplash action. That's why Chisenhall was taken out of the game. This one flipped foul. The count remains at 1-2. Holt went to left, and Sands, who got the start in left, moved over to right.
Pitch number 91 of the game for Richards. That was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Great life still on the fastball for Richards. You think you have a shot at a slider now. I just muscled up on it. That would slider at 89. .58 strikes of his 92 pitches.
Got him swinging. Down goes Holt, and there's out number 1.
96-mile-an-hour fastball. He went with a two-seam fastball. A little sink action to it, gets it by Holt. Good location. Well, when you look at how many pitches he has thrown, at least 95 or harder during the course of the game, 61 of his 95 pitches. That's at 64% of his pitches today have been 95 or higher. Impressive for Richards. And you just mix in an 89 and 90-mile-an-hour slider.
Sands with a walk and a strikeout. Off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. So the Cardinals is set up the outside part of the plate. 2-2 got him looking. Back-to-back strikeouts. As a matter of fact, that's 3 consecutive punch-outs going back to the 6th.
10th punch out of the game. That 96-mile-an-hour fastball, a perfect spot. Great target set by Carlos Perez. Frames it well. In a quick conversation with Perez before the game, I said, how much are you looking forward to catching Garrett Richards? He just smiled at me and said, I can't wait. What a nice job he's done behind the plate.
Bourne chops this one back toward the middle. Giavotella, no chance with Bourne running. Infield base hit for Bourne.
Was he thinking about flipping that ball over to Eric Ibar?
Not with Bourne running down the line.
No. And just over the head of Richards. And he looked at Eric Ibar and then threw over the first base. You're not going to throw at Bourne. It's one of those baseballs you're better off just holding on to.
Yep. Giovanni Urshela, the third baseman, up 0 for 2. Lifts this one on the first base side. Perez and Crone. C.J. Crone coming down the way. Perez gets out of the way, and it's the 3rd out of the 7th. Stretch time here at the Big A. 5-3 Angels. post-game show for the Business of Sports, brought to you by AutoNation.com and powered by AutoNation Nissan South Bend. Handles into seventh, have Ibar, Gillespie, and Crone coming up. Those are the same three guys that started off the seventh inning against Corey Kluber. They'll be facing a new pitcher, Ryan Webb, in his 25th game, 1-0 record, and a 3 ERA. Webb was originally a fourth-round pick in 04 by Oakland, but has pitched in the big leagues with San Diego, the Marlins, the Orioles last year, and now Cleveland this season.
Yeah, fastball 90 to 94 range, slider, solid changeup.
Webb at AAA. He's pitching 5 games at a 1.12 ERA. Out of the Indians bullpen. Came in with an ERA out of the pen at 3.15. Ibar 1 for 3. He led off the 6th inning with a single and scored a run. Once one dribbles out in front of the plate. Gomes quickly fires the first. One down. That is cool and calm under pressure, coming out from behind the plate.
When you have an arm like he does, you could be under control. Very solid defender. He's thrown out a little over 33% of would-be base stealers. You see that arm on display right there.
Gillespie 1 for 3 with a 2-run home run. He will look at a strike. 4th of the year, now with 21 runs batted in. Eight for 27 with the Angels. This being his 7th game. Bouncer foul.
Now it's time for the top tier play of the game, brought to you by Arco in the 6th inning. It's Corey Kluber. Connor Gillespie crushes a baseball. Big home run against Kluber. And the smiles and the high fives. His first home run wearing that Angel uniform. Had a career high 13 home runs back in 2013. Crushed that one there.
And he tied him up. Called strike 3 for round number 2. All 5 of the Indian strikeouts looking. Well, I've seen and heard some barking from Angels fans here at the ballpark. Corey Blazer's actually done a pretty good job. I mean, based on our Fox Track technology, he's called strikes. Crone looks at the strike.
He's called many that we've seen out of the strike zone. It's out of that one maybe to call, just barely
right
out of the
upstairs.
strike zone. But still a pretty close pitch.
Crone a 2 for 3 game with single, a double, and a strikeout. Here's this one up the first base line. Webb off the mound. Angels go down in order. 7 complete here at the Big A. It's 5-3 Angels.
snap the 6-game losing streak. I'm Alex Curry, and stick around after the game for Angels Live. Jose Mota will be joining me. Kent French will have all the interviews. Hopefully we'll hear from Garrett Richards, who has been lights out after that first inning. And then we had a couple of firsts here tonight. David DeJesus getting his first hit as an Angel, and then Connor Gillespie giving the Angels a lead with his first home run as an Angel. And I talked to him before the game. He said he's finally settling here in Orange County. He's not living in a hotel anymore. He found a home, and he really feels like he's a part of this team. And after tonight, I think the fans are going to feel the same way and happy he's a Halo. Guys?
Thanks a lot, Alex. Here on the 8th inning, top of the order coming up for Cleveland. Taylor Featherston takes over at third base for Gillespie. Here's Richards back out on the mound. It's Ramirez, Lindor, and Brantley. Garrett with 10 strikeouts, 2 walks. It's the 4th time in his career in which he's had 10 or more strikeouts, career high 11 last year, July 6th against Houston. Ramirez, the second baseman, has walked and scored, and he has grounded out twice to Giavatello. These are Ramos, the lefty, Joe Smith, the former Indian, the right-hander. 3-0.
Got to fight back in this count now if you're Richards. That shows it. Showing the faith in Richards to go back out here in the 8th inning, especially after all the innings used out of the bullpen yesterday.
$105 pitches. Just missed in. And it's a leadoff walk. Ramirez with good speed on board. 8 stolen bases this year. Has been caught once. Francisco Lindor coming up, the shortstop, 0 for 2. Season high in pitches for Garrett. 113. He's done that twice. Last time was 3 starts ago against the Red Sox. Featherston in over at third. The first one in there for a strike. Cleveland with 3 runs, 4 hits, have stranded 3. The Angels with 5 runs, 11 hits. Left 8 men on base. Corey Kluber picking up 5 runs in his 5 2/3. 0-2.
108th pitch, and that's fastball still had great life on it at 96. Seventh 0-2 count. The scheme for Richards.
Got him swinging down goes Lindor. The 11th strikeout of the night, matching his career high, and it's the first out here in the 8th. That's going to be it. He will match it and then call it a night.
What a great last pitch of the game for Richards. How tight that breaking ball is, and a swing and miss on an 0-2 pitch going after the hitter. Great job to Richards.
He departs with the lead. A pitching change here in the 8th. Tying a career high with 11 strikeouts, just 4 hits, 3 runs. And 2 of those hits and all 3 runs coming in the first inning. You talk about going back out there, figuring it out, and keeping his team in the ball game. And that's exactly what he did. He just got stronger and stronger as the game progressed.
The good ones figured it out. All the great pitchers over the years will have that tough first inning. Some, then all of a sudden they're out by the second or third inning. The good ones figure it out, and he certainly figured it out as the game progressed. Dominant performance.
Cesar Ramos takes over on the mound here. 41st game, a 2-0 record, a 1.38 ERA. Facing Michael Brantley, who's 1 for 3 tonight. An RBI single back in the first. Ramirez, the base runner at first base. Brantley's at 289 against left-handed pitching this year compared to 307 against righties.
Very solid hitter. He can use the entire field. That's why he's pretty successful against lefties also.
Ramos comes in, is followed behind here at 3-0. Santana, the switch hitting first baseman's on deck. Three and one, borderline at best, but he gets the call. Brantley thought it was ball 4.
In the neighborhood 3-0 pitch. Look, it might have been just out of the strike zone.
They still call that? Close enough.
Hitters always believe that.
Full count. Bears with a short lead at first. 3-2. Ground ball back to the middle. Off the glove of Ramos. Giavotella picks it up, fires to first. It's a high throw and pulls prone off the bag. Now there goes an infield base hit. Boy, if Caesar comes up with it, you might have yourself an inning-ending double play.
I mean, that's what you hope for as a pitcher, a ground ball right like that back at you. Just got underneath the glove. Even if he doesn't touch that, it's going to end up being right to Eric Ibar potentially to a 6-3 double play. And the high throw from Giavotella. A little lower throw. They might have a shot at him at first, but the high throw.
That's going to be it for Ramos. He was charged to get one batter and unable to do so. Almost got him. Almost doesn't count. One out. A couple of men on. Joe Smith being summoned from the pen to face his former mates, 5-3 Angels here in the 8th.
threatening. But Garrett Richards was outstanding tonight. After giving up 3 runs in the first inning, he settled in, had a dominant fastball. That cut fastball and slider, very, very consistent throughout the game. 11 punch-outs, 71 pitches thrown tonight from Richards that were 95 or higher with that consistent velocity all the way through the end for 7 1/3 innings pitched. 4 hits allowed, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts for Richards. Joe Smith now takes over, looking for that ground ball double play.
46th game for Joe. He pitched yesterday through 22 pitches against the Dodgers. On the season, 4-3 with a 3.14 ERA. Spent 5 seasons with the Cleveland Indians. And very good numbers for them. 18-11, 2.76 ERA in those 5 years. Facing Santana. First pitch outside. Santana 1 for 3. A couple of strikeouts and a single. Now, Joe didn't get a start with the Cleveland Indians. He was originally drafted by the Mets. At Wright State University. Santana takes low.
Oh, that's a good pitch.
2-0. Joe wanted to know where that one was at. Looked like it got the bottom part of the zone.
Middle of the plate at the knees. And a strike.
Ramirez at second, Brantley at first. Slider for strike. This will pull foul, 2-2. Mets traded Smith to Cleveland back in 08 prior to the 09 season. It was part of a 9-player deal, 3-team deal. The Mets, the Mariners, and the Indians. J.J. Putt's part of that deal. Jason Vargas, Franklin Gutierrez. Two-two, line to left, a base hit. Ramirez at good speed, is going to be waved in. He will score. Almost stumbles around third. It's an RBI single for Santana. That run gets charged to Richards. Close the book on him, and it's now a 1-run lead for the Angels.
This pitch running off the outside part of the plate. Santana didn't square it up necessarily, but looking to go the other way, trying to make contact. It's a base hit in the left field. Scoring Ramirez, who had walked.
Yan Gomes looks at a strike. Homering in the first inning, a 2-run shot. He's hit a fly ball to right, and he is struck out.
And bury that look back to second base. Make sure really doesn't get a jump and try to steal.
Slider fouled back, 0-2. So Richards gets charged with 4 runs tonight, 7 1/3. Ramirez reached to start this 8th inning via the walk. 7 1/3, 4 hits, 11 strikeouts, 3 walks, and the 4 runs for Garrett. Got him swinging on the slider. Down goes Gomes. 2 outs.
It's a real solid sequence from Joe. Nasty slider to get a swing and miss well off the outside corner and down. If he makes contact, it's going to be a ground ball. That rotation on a slider down and away. Get a big punch out.
Here's Tyler Holt. 0 for 1 tonight. Struck out in his only plate appearance in the 7th. Outfield shallow all the way around. To Jesus, Trout, and Calhoun from left to right. 1-0 pitch, bounce foul. The Angels in the bottom of the 8th have Giovitello, Perez, and DeJesus. That's 8, 9, and 1 coming up. There's action in the Indians' pen. Webb pitched a 1-2-3 7th. One now. Bouncer foul. Now the 1-2. Slider got him swinging. Down goes Holt. And Joe Smith finishes off the 8th. We'll head to the bottom of the inning. 5-4 Halos. Lead things off here. Ryan Webb back out on the mound for his second inning of work. At a 1-2-3 7th, including a punch out. Giovitello, Perez, and DeJesus here in the 8th. Johnny 1 for 3. A single with a run scored in that 3-run 6th inning. Webb's the third reliever used by Terry Francona. Crockett faced one batter. Manship 1/3 of an inning, and now Webb.
Trying to get a little insurance here after Cleveland got that lead just to 1 run, but Joe Smith some nasty sliders to maintain that lead for the Angels. Houston Street getting ready in the bullpen.
Slider. It's slowly to short. Lindor has it. 1 out.
See that arm strength Lindor has. Solid play to get Giovitello at first base.
Carlos Perez comes up now. He's 1 for 3 with a single. Webb had an interesting early part of the year in that he was with Baltimore last year. Got traded to the Dodgers.
It was early in April. 4 days later, he got released by the Dodgers, picked up by Cleveland.
Sort of a lot of strikes so far in this game.
Yeah.
10 pitches, 10 strikes.
Got some sink to his pitches, too. '29-year-old, native of Clearwater, Florida. Home of Frenchie's restaurant on the beach.
Yes, it is.
Fantastic black and grouper sandwich if you ever go to Clearwater Beach.
Yes.
A little Roy Halladay delivery to him.
He was
Not stuff. I'm just saying
he was a dominant pitcher.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
But like Roy Halladay, throwing a lot of
appears.
strikes. He's thrown 12 pitches, all strikes.
He has the appearance in his delivery.
There you go.
There you go. He's working the beard.
Certainly as tall as him.
Work with me.
I hear you. Like I said, a lot of strikes thrown.
Bouncer toward third. Off balance throw, and Carlos retired for round number 2. So that's 5 up and 5 down. 13 strikes thrown by Webb. The top of the order, David DeJesus coming up. DeJesus 1 for 3, an RBI single in the 6th. Also was hit by a pitch in the 5th, and that kind of opened the door for the Angels at that point. Angels were down 3-0. Crone had doubled to lead off the inning. Kluber retired the next 2 guys, and then with 2 strikes hit DeJesus on the elbow. Calhoun and Trout followed with singles. 2 runs got on the board. Angels were down 1, then they scored 3 in the 6th.
Went a little old school. He didn't try to get out of the way of that one.
He's a veteran. He's been around a long time.
Looks like he has that elbow pad on now. Alfredo.
Yeah.
Always entertaining.
37,030 announced tonight. The opening game of this homestand. First of 3 against Cleveland. Back at it again tomorrow at 7:05. Matt Shoemaker to face Carlos Carrasco.
Another good pitcher the Angels are going to have to face.
Foul back.
Shoemaker's been throwing the ball very, very well.
For last year, he was the American League Rookie of the Month. Had a fantastic second half. Calhoun on deck. 1-2 now from Webb. It's fouled off the left. The Angels trying to snap that 6-game losing streak. Not only that, pick up a game in the standings with Texas having defeated the Houston Astros earlier tonight. Just at the start of the day with 4 back. Texas now 7 back with their victory. The 6-game losing streak, the longest stretch for the Angels this season. Two balls and 2 strikes. They've seen a lot of good pitching. It's got to feel good knowing that tonight they did it against the reigning Cy Young Award winner.
They had some pretty good swings against him.
10 hits against Kluber.
Only 4 strikeouts by him in the game, which is a low total for him.
Chopper toward the middle indoors there. He's got it on 2 hops. The end of the ninth, Houston Street will be head of the baseball. The bottom third of the order for Cleveland due up. The Angels up by a run. And live look-ins from around the league. MLB Whip Around is weekdays at 4 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Halos up 5-4 as we begin the ninth inning. Bottom third of the order due up for Cleveland. The Angels trying to pick up a game in the standings. More importantly, to snap that losing streak and trying to get something rolling here at home. Halos have played good baseball at home for the most part. 32-21 on the season. Looking for their 33rd victory. Mike handing the ball off to Houston Street. Street pitching in his 39th game. 3-2 record at 2.79 ERA. 25 saves on the season. 300 career saves. Only 27 players have reached that magic plateau. They'll be facing Jerry Sands. Cesar Ramos faced one batter in the 8th inning, gave up a hit, and then Joe Smith went 2/3 of an inning. Gave up a hit himself and struck out the last two at Gomes and Holt. Houston last pitched Saturday. Getting some work with 1 inning. 1 hit, 1 strikeout, 1 walk for him. His only appearance of the week. Prior to that, he last pitched the previous Sunday.
His 17th game versus Cleveland. 9 career saves.
Missed away. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Trying to close it out for Garrett Richards, who went 7 1/3 tonight, 4 runs, and 4 hits, matching a career high in strikeouts with 11. The 1-2, got him swinging, off-speed pitch, 1 down.
He gave the bullpen exactly what they needed, some length in the game. Street with a perfect slider, down and away. Tell you what, Carlos Perez has done a very good job behind the plate calling the game, framing pitches, giving good targets.
"14 strikeouts by Angels pitching tonight. First one is up and away. Bourne 1 for 3, 2 strikeouts and a single. Infield knock his last time up. Two balls, 2 strikes. Two now. Breaking ball fouled off. Another 2-2 from Street. A little bit high. Full count. This one's out to center field. It's a 1-out single. You got the speedy Bourne on board now.
Went down and got a pretty good pitch. Was down in the strike zone.
Connor Gillespie with a home run. 1-for-4 game for Connor.
It's his first career home run as an Angel.
Off speed down low. Shella, the third baseman, 0 for 3. A strikeout, a fly ball to right, and a pop up. 7 hits for Cleveland, 11 for the Angels.
Carlos Perez has thrown out 25% of would-be base stealers.
Reaching back. Dangerous throw over there. Ball like that, and all of a sudden you got Bourne standing at third base. 11 bags this year. He's been caught 5 times. Cleveland came in to tonight's action 8th in the American League in stolen bases. This one's skied on the right side. Giavotella cutting across. Calls off C.J. Cron in foul territory. Puts it away. 2 down.
Good call on that one for Giavotella right away. Calls for that pop-up. Got right underneath it. Nice play. Second out.
So it's a leadoff man. Jose Ramirez coming up with 2 outs. Oh for 2 with a couple of walks, 2 runs scored. Down and in. Halos looking for their 56th win of the season. It's game number 105 on the year. Their first win in August. One. Seeing the speed of Ramirez, the range of Ramirez at second base too.
And he's covered a lot of ground.
Hit on that ball that DeJesus got credited with an infield base hit on in the 6th inning. Long way to his left to knock it down. David getting an RBI with that single. Bourne takes off. The pitch is low. The throw down to second is not in time. A stolen base for Michael Bourne, his 12th of the year.
Yeah, he had a big jump, but a real strong throw from Perez made it a lot closer. See how big that jump was, but how quick the release was for Perez. The foot on the base. Quick tag from Ibar, but Bourne beats the throw. And kept contact with the base all the way through.
A 2-1 count. Outfield shallow. The pitch. Fouled back. 2-2. Tough stretch of games for the Angels this past week out on the road. Good showing tonight, trying to close it out. 2-2. Full count.
Shows a pretty good patience. Worked 2 walks in this game. That was not a bad pitch. Tracked that one well.
Francisco Lindor on deck. Houston's ready. Now the payoff pitch. Popped him up. Shallow center field. Mike Trout coming in. Light that baby up as the Angels take the opening game of the series by the final of 5-4.
A hard-fought victory after falling behind against the reigning Cy Young Award winner from last year, 3-0. They fought back. Some great at-bats. Connor Gillespie, his first home run as an Angel. 2-run shot. Houston Street picks up his 26th save. Garrett Richards, excellent 7 1/3, 11 punch-outs. Mike Trout with a base hit. David DeJesus with his first hit as a Halo, a big spot in this game. But 11 hits against Kluber in the bullpen for Cleveland. Very solid to see the offense roll. Cole's had a solid game himself.
Garrett Richards picking up that 11th win. Houston notching his 26th save of the season. And overall a good performance for this Angels ball club. As you pointed out, Garrett Richards totally settling down after that first inning hiccup, which he gave up 3 runs. He was electric the rest of the way for him, matching his career high in 11 strikeouts. But nice to see Connor Gillespie deliver. Remember, the White Sox got to Corey Kluber twice earlier this year. And Connor was a part of that.
Yeah, he had good numbers. 364 career hitter coming into the game against Kluber.
Well, the Angel third baseman tonight picks up his first home run as an Angel. David DeJesus picks up his first hit as an Angel and an RBI as well. But the Angels pick up the victory here tonight in the opening game of this 3-game set, snapping that 6-game losing streak, and they pick up a game in the standings against Houston. 5-4, the final. Stick around. Angels Live postgame is coming up next.